Hey guys, what's up? Today I want to show you how to set up a skateboard, making it a full complete to ride. So after seeing my tricks and maneuvers on a skateboard, what's better than show you how to set up your own skateboard for the first time or give you how to do it again. So with all the parts right here to set up a complete skateboard, you'll be able to learn it in no time and go from there. So again, I want to show you how to set up a complete skateboard. If you order all the parts online and it's not set up, if you go to a skate shop and they're about to close up, or if you're just curious about how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to set up a complete skateboard for your first time and then go from there. So now I'm going to show you all the parts and then you can learn how it's done. Enjoy. Alright guys, I'm going to go and show you what everything you need for a skateboard complete to start out with right here. First you'll need the main foundation of the skateboard, complete being a skateboard. So choose one that fits your size by how wide it needs to be. If you're a beginner and you're a youth kid, you probably need a smaller board. But if you're older, more experienced and love riding ramps and so on, you probably need a wider deck. So we're going to show you what this size board right here. After that, to prevent falling off your board and keep comfortable with grip, here's the grip tape for your board, just like going up stairs and steps inside a building. After that, you'll need something to hold everything together from the trucks and so on, I'll show you shortly, called the hardware with the nuts and bolts. And then after that, you'll need the trucks to go ahead and maneuver on your skateboard or get really good power slides or whatever you like to do with, depending on how tight you like them. After that, here are the bearings with spacers and wheels. So that way these two things right here will get your board gliding smooth and then you go from there. And last but not least, the tools to do it with as well as a razor blade to cut the grip tape with. So we're going to go ahead and show you what's going to be done. Alright guys, as I showed you all the parts below, I'm going to go ahead and start setting up the skateboard deck for you and show you how it's done. First we're going to start with the skateboard deck right here, as well as the grip tape for it. So what you need to do is this. Get your grip tape and make sure it's a big enough size to fit the board. Because if you don't, you'll probably have to buy multiple sheets and go from there. So that's definitely one thing you do not want to screw up on. So the main thing is this. Unroll your sheet of grip tape unless it comes like this wherever you get it. Get it like this, pull apart, and make sure it does not stick together or else it'll completely screw everything up and you'll have to literally rip it apart and you'll lose a lot of stick for your skateboard. So after that, what you do is find the alignment to find it on the board. So what you do is make sure you got enough on both the nose and the tail. So that way you'll be able to align it right so you don't have it too short on one side and then you'll have to take some of the grip tape you cut off with just to fill in that gap. So again, make sure it's aligned right, and what you do is you gently press down with your fingers like this to get it properly on there, so that way you won't have any bubbles or any drama or whatsoever to waste your time with when you're ready to ride. So again, make sure you put it on like this and you'll be good to go. And all I do is go like this, smack it down, you'll be good. Now the main thing is you want to check for, after you put the grip tape on the board like this, is to make sure there's no air bubbles in your grip tape, because if you do that, they'll make it way worse of a setup and can make more breakage and more worse damage to your skateboard. So that's how you set up the grip tape on your board. Alright guys, now with the grip tape on the board, as I've shown you, we're going to go ahead and start getting rid of the loose grip tape on the edges you do not need, because if you have it like this, not only are you going to be picked on or teased about it, you also have a lot of useless space used on your board that you don't need. So we're going to go ahead and get out the file. So what you do is you use this to get the grip tape nice and easy on your board. Now you see like this, with all the white around the board, that's the outline to cut it with. So I'm going to go ahead and take the razor blade in a second and show you how it's done. So right here, this razor blade, start off by getting an angle. Do not cut straight into it, but cut it like sideways, so that way it can make it easy to get into the grip tape and cut along the side. So that way you can easily cut it like this and go around the whole board like a boss. So we'll go ahead and show you how it's done real quick. Now you see with this is the sheet I was talking about to get off the grip tape, the part of it you need to get rid of. So what you do at this point is get it put together like this and then sand it down more, so that way it'll stay on your board better. So that way you have it on there fully on your board and there's going to be no issues whatsoever. And the last thing you do before you start putting the other parts on is I like to have this little thing right here to cut the holes in the grip tape to get the hardware through. Instead of puncturing the hardware through the board, you have one of these to help you direct where to put your hardware in with your trucks and so on. So I'll show that to you real quick. find the holes and then just basically pound it through, wobble it around, so that way it'll be easy to work around. And I'll do that to the other 4. And there you go. So that way all the hardware holes, I know it's not easy to see, but it's just like the back of the board. You have easy holes to find your hardware to put in, so it should be pretty easy. And what I like to do as an extra touch is just reapply pressure on the part you cut through, so that way the parts of the grip tape that are sticking up will not be doing that to you when you're putting the hardware through. And that way it'll get rid of extra grip tape you don't need, just like cutting it earlier. So that's another part, so that way now you have the board and the grip tape all good to go on it. So here's a close-up of the holes I did in the grip tape, so that way it's easy to find your hardware to put through these holes in the board that are already there to set up your trucks and so on. So we'll do that next. Alright guys, so like I said, that's for the grip tape part. Now we're going to do the hardware through the holes. So the main thing is you have 8 altogether, so 8 nuts and bolts for your setup. So what you do is, you got one right here that's tightened up. So what you do is, you take it like this, and that way you can easily get rid of it to start putting the trucks through. So I'm going to go ahead and show it to you, and then that way you know how to get it set up the right way. Just putting those in my area where my other nuts are is a joke. So again, these are the trucks right here you'll need. Make sure they're the right size with your board, because the wider the board is, the wider the hanger size you'll need for your trucks. For example, if you ride 775 or smaller, you'll need 5/0s. If you ride 825 and wider, we recommend 139s. And then if you ride 8.5 or bigger, 149 is the minimum. And then if you ride over a 9 size deck, 169 is what you'll need for sure. So there's the trucks you'll need and the different sizes, but since this is a small board, these are 5/0 trucks, which are also called 129s. So I'll go ahead and start putting them on the board for you to see. So just make sure you tighten them on after you get that hardware through, so that way you don't have anything go the wrong way. And the other thing you want to do is make sure you have the truck like this, because if you do it the opposite way, it'll look like this, in which will be a no-no. So make sure it's flipped the right way inward, so that way this hanger part sticks out, so that way you don't screw it up, because if you don't, you're not going to easily turn and you're not going to be grinding. And again, just like if you have that extra stuff on your grip tape, people are going to laugh and pick on you. So just thought I'd let you know for future reference. So I'll go ahead and get these on here and then we'll go from there. And then the other thing I suggest is when you're putting them on, put one more in the front and one in the back, so that way it's easy to lock in. So when you got 2 out of 4 nuts and bolts on there, it's already in place. So my advice is put one down here in this hole and then one up here in this hole. So that way these 2 that are still empty, it's easier to find them instead of fighting with the truck to lock it in right. That'll save you a lot of time, headaches, and whatever else you can think of. And like I said, make sure the holes are already through the grip tape, so it's easy to find the holes to put in with the board and the trucks. Alright, so there's one of them. So like I say, that way it's on the right way and not the wrong way. So again, you'll be able to grind right, turn right, and not be picked on, and so on and so forth. So we'll get these tightened down shortly. It's easier to get both trucks done at once. So like I say, I'm going to show you the steps again with this one. So we'll get it on there, and then that way we'll go from there. So put the hardware like this in the hole. So that way when you take your screwdriver, if you have a unit tool like I'll show it to you, it'll make it so much easier to tighten it down and so on and so forth. Because if you do it the wrong way, that ain't going to look good. And believe me, we all learn if no one's there to help us. I know it's kind of a little bit hard at first to go ahead and get it tightened up the way it is, but in the end, once you get it down experienced like a pro, it'll be like nothing. You'll just be like, okay, another board set up, let's go skate, you know. But when you're starting out, just make sure you get a feel for it instead of just throwing it together and not knowing what you're doing, because a lot of things can go wrong with setting up a skateboard to make you ruin it or break it way easier, which makes you spend a lot more time and money doing the things you don't want to do when you're trying to enjoy skateboarding to begin with. And this is going to be something I thought I'd point out too. I know it's going to be rare, but sometimes the manufacturers send the wrong size measurements on the holes to put the hardware in on your board. So if you ever come across that, make sure you send it back to the skate shop and explain it to them, because without doubt you should be getting a refund and or a return. So that way nothing goes wrong for what you enjoy doing, or if you're starting out and getting on the right track with skateboarding and what you love. So with all those on, like I say, they're a little bit loose. Do not ride them like that or else it's going to go wrong very quick and ruin your hardware and do some damage to your board unwantingly. So my advice is buy a unit tool. Unit tools are extra and you can usually find them in skate shops and so on. So this is what unit tool is. The main part, like a T-tool, and then this part. This is to basically tighten down trucks, and I'll show that to you as I do that. And this part's to tighten down the hardware. Now, if you do not have one of these yet, this is what the other tools I can show you as. A screwdriver, and then this to tighten down the nuts and bolts. So basically this is also going to be used to file your grip tape with. So I'll show it to you real quick. It's not strongly recommended, but if you don't have a file like I showed you, you got one of those to help you. And plus two, what I like about using a screwdriver at the end, it's easy to sand down easier than just a regular grip tape. But I just thought I'd show you if you're only limited to certain options and then going from there. So again, if you don't have the unit T-tool that I'll show you again, screwdriver and these will work really well to tighten it down and get the job done. But we're going to go back to the T-tool again and do the job. So first things first, before you add the bearings and wheels, make sure you tighten down the hardware with the trucks to the board. And then another advice is make sure you don't super tighten down the hardware with the board, because if you do, that adds a lot of pressure and breaks boards way easier. And I've done that a lot because the reason why is I hate having that slightly loose to ruin my skating. But to each of their own, you know. I mean, there's also this thing called riser pads, which is something I have not shown you yet. But what riser pads do is they eliminate impact by being rubber pads between your nuts, trucks, and board. So that way it goes in between your board and trucks to help eliminate pressure points and get less cracks and eliminate more braking. That's something I use, and I recommend the rubber ones, not the hard plastic ones, because they're going to be about the same anyways. It's just hard plastic and wood. So if you don't have it, hardware will still work by just putting on the trucks, and most people I see ride like it this way. But for me, since I do stairs, gaps, drops, and so on, as well as rough drops, should I not forget, you can see them up on my YouTube page as you look through my videos, but I always like to have that extra gel and protection, as I call it, besides what's in my shoes. Because just like, for example, when you primo, that don't feel good. So anyways, we're about through 4 of these right now, so remember there's 8 of them all together you got to do, so do not screw this chance up, because if you do, it's not going to be pretty. I know this takes the longest too, but like I say, I just thought I'd explain more tips, suggestions, and so on while you do this. So anyways, this is the 4 of them. Notice in comparison, this one's still loose and this one's tight. This is what you want to do, is make sure it's on tight, because if you don't, like I say, you're going to get a lot of problems really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the final 4, and then we'll get the next part started. And another reminder, like I say, is while you're tightening these down, try to have your hardware kind of be a little bit above the grip tape to eliminate that pressure, like I said, so that way you don't break your board as easily while you try stuff. But then again, that's why they made riser pads, to help eliminate that too. So there's a decision and a choice everyone can make on a skateboard and how they want to set it up and ride it, or what they want to do. So like I say, we're all different and we ride all different kind of setups, whether it's our boards, our shoes, our trucks, bearings, wheels, hardware, grip tape, or what we wear. So we don't all have to look like clones or wear the exact same thing, but to each of their own, and what you want to do and what you want to be on a skateboard. But the main thing is you have fun with it and you love doing it from the day you started, or the moment you saw it, just like your first crush, if you're lucky to marry them. So alright, like I said, that way both are on really nice and tight. And as you can see, I put the hardware kind of right balanced, leveled with the grip tape. So that way you can see what it's like, and that way you don't get it screwed up. So again, just like this, see the black hardware right there? That way they're level with the grip tape and they won't break. So now, with that out of the way, we're going to do the bearings and wheels, so that way it'll be your last step before I show you anything else. The main advice I have is make sure you have your washers in the truck when you get them brand new, because that way they'll help take care of some of the dirt and moisture that come in the bearings. That way, that's why they're called bearing washers. So that way they'll help eliminate the problems. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 bearings, as shown. Show them up close to you real quick. So again, these are the bearings. And then the other thing is, some bearing companies come with these standards, some of them don't. These are bearing spacers. And like I say, not every single company is going to give you to them, but if they do, make sure you use them in between your wheels to have that space if you want to, so it's easy to get the wheels out of the bearings and so on. So here are the wheel, or one of the wheels should I say, and when you do that, make sure when you're setting up the wheel, there's already one bearing in the truck, like this one. Put it in here so it's easy to lock into place. Now, what you do next is the bearing spacer, put it right in the middle so it goes in between the wheels. And then after that, flip the wheel around. So that way this bearing go right in here, which I'll show you in a minute. And you press that down, and that's the wheels. Now, the wheels, you can either get blank or with a graphic. And since these come with graphic, you can either have them showing off on the outside or put them on the inside. I usually like to have them on the inside. That way I can enjoy the graphic a little bit longer. But since this is like a complete, I want to show you how to set up. It's cool to show off the graphic on the outside so that way you get to see it easier. But note to self, if you do it on the outside like this, the graphic's going to come off way faster. So again, the unit tool. The one thing I really recommend when setting up a complete, because if you don't have one of these to set up your wheels on your board or tighten or loosen the trucks that I'll show you in a little bit, it's going to screw you up big time. So again, the unit tool. Find the right one to lock in. Start tightening away. Now the next thing I recommend is, without a doubt, hear how it kind of wobbles? That's because it's not all the way tightened. Make sure you keep tightening until you get it just right. So that way, it doesn't make that noise and it's perfectly in there and it'll spin. Now if you over tighten it, like I'll show you, your wheels and bearings and so on will not move as easily. So again, slightly get it right so that way it'll spin way easier and you won't have any problems with your setup and riding on ramps or taking it on the concrete or wherever you want to ride. So like I said, that's just the main thing of safety, to make sure you go ahead and get your setup right. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other ones and show you how that's done real quick. So again, get the hardware off the truck. I usually place it on the board because they're usually wide enough. And get a spacer, so that way you have two bearings, a spacer, and wheel. Now, like I said, not all companies are going to give bearing spacers, should I say, but remember, if you get bearing spacers, do use it for advantage, but if you do not like them, I understand. So just put them on the truck like this and puncture it in with the wheel, so that way it'll be on there like a boss for you. And do the same thing by flipping around where the hole is still in the bearing like that. Make sure you get both bearings on both sides of the wheel, because if you're having one missing, it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to send a lot of disaster in the air for your riding, and it'll make you be tripping. So again, take your unit tool or T-tool, whatever you like to call it, tighten it down, but don't overdo it so that way you don't lock up like you feel like you're hitting brakes or running into a wall or something and fly right off your board. That's not pretty. And that's not a good feeling, should I say. So like I said, just make sure it doesn't have any wobbling, and it's just right so that way they spin. So that's half of them right there. We're going to go ahead and take care of the other side. And as I mentioned earlier about the washer, what I like to do is, if it only has one washer, is to have it on the outside, right next to where you have the hardware, nut and bolt, stuff like that for your wheels and trucks are. So that way it'll be easier to keep the moisture out and it won't screw it up. So again, puncture it in. And when you do that, flip it around with the other bearing on the other side and put it in. You're good to go. So that little black washer you usually get with the trucks, I like to have right here, so that way when I tighten it, it'll have that extra protection when it tries to get moisture and dirt and whatever in it, so it helps eliminate it. Usually all trucks come with it. You get 4 of them total per truck, but unfortunately this one didn't get them all the way, so I have to do with what I got. But usually when you get 4 altogether, there's 2 on each side, so that way 1 on the inside and 1 on the outside for your bearing to make it easier to keep them clean and smooth gliding. Now, you can buy bearing oil and do WD-40, whatever your way is, to keep them moving and gliding and so on. But it's up to you what you want to do. You can either use them until they just basically break apart, or take care of them like they're your kid. So, we're going to get to the last one, and then we should be pretty much done with the setup, so you can get out and ride and learn how to do it yourself. So again, take the wheel, put it in, and when it's in there, get your other bearing, and then that way you can flip it. And right as you're doing it, you'll be good to go. Now, they also make bearing pressers and stuff for optional tools, but usually they cost $20 or more. But tools that I recommend are the trucks itself on your board after you tighten them in your board, because they're going to be way easier to pound and stamp in there than a bearing presser. Because surprisingly, bearing pressers, besides the cost of them, have actually broke on me while using, which is kind of miserable. But like I say, everyone get what they need. do what they need to do and just enjoy what you love, you know. So anyways, here's the setup. Everything's on it, it's gripped and ready to rip. My last thing though is, before you ride it, stand on it to make sure it feels comfortable. That is the biggest thing you want to do. Even if it's already fully set up when you get in the mail, test it. Usually when you get boards, the trucks are so loose on them already, so you got to tighten them to your comfort zone. So again, take the T-tool, unit tool, whatever you like to call it, and start tightening it down with the right side, so that way you won't have them either as loose, or if you really like them loose, it's your choice. So I recommend when you're first tightening them, I do it like 3 times on each side, so that way you can go ahead and keep getting tighter and tighter without over stressing it. Now see how that tightened it up? That'll make it way easier to ride. But if you have that really tough critic choice, just make sure to get it your way, because remember the old saying, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So in order to loosen it, you got to turn it to the left, and if you want to tighten it up, turn it to the right. So that way you know what to do to make an easy setup to your comfort zone. So here it is. That'll be pretty good for me to ride right there. So here's the setup. It's all ready. And make sure, especially when you're starting skateboarding, please wear protective gear and whatever you can do to keep yourself safe, because just like anything else you do athletically, sports or lecture, everything is dangerous, so it doesn't matter what you do. It's like when you watch NFL or football. You can really get hurt by throwing that ball or trying to defend it. So anything's possible on anything we do in our free time. So make sure you wear the right protective gear and stay within your comfort zone before you go beyond your limits, because you don't want to ruin something you love doing by just starting and then having a serious injury. So keep protected, pad it up, and then go from there. In fact, I like how this is. I'm going to go ahead and take it for a spin. Oh yeah, guys. Sorry I got too excited. My main thing I thought I'd finish up with is, after you do a setup on your skateboard, a full complete, please clean up your trash and tools. You don't want to make anybody mad. There's too many people that already throw things off the road when they're driving in their cars and so on, so let's make sure we get everything cleaned up and we're good to go. And one more thing I thought I mentioned is, if you're going to start using a razor blade, that I forgot to mention while gripping the board, I apologize about that, use it carefully. It's like a knife, especially when you use a new one, because these things cut like knife like nothing. So if you're a really young kid, you probably want your parents around unless they're going to help you with that. So again, make sure you keep your fingers at a safe distance while cutting it. So that way it's an easy gliding momentum and you won't get your fingers involved. So keep your hands on the opposite side of the board while gripping it so you don't get yourself cut. It happens, but to eliminate it, that's something I suggest. So again, get your garbage and tools cleaned up and put away. So that way not only do you make your mom and dad proud to show you care, you actually take care of everything like a boss. So that should be everything you need to know. Thanks for watching.